So here's my planner. It does come with a cardboard cover, but I'm going to remove this because I want my planner just to be directly inserted into the covers. So I'm just going to take these staples off. You can leave the covers on if you like. So I'm going to insert that directly in there. So I think also I'm going to punch 2 extra holes in the middle here, and I'm going to have 6 holes where I'm going to stitch through in the spine. So I'm just going to grab this puncher. And also I'm going to make these a little bit wider so that they will, my needle will fit through. I think I'll use this one because it's got a sharper tip. Sure these are all lined up. These clamps will help secure them in place. Okay, so I'm just going to re-punch the holes here. And I'm going to put 2 more in the middle. I'm going to grab a piece of paper. Cut it so it's the same size. And just fold in 2 to find the middle. So there's my middle, so I'm going to punch a little bit over to the top. You can put as many holes as you like. And then another one here. So now I can stitch this inside my journal, and this is some cording that I got at my local dollar store. I think it's bamboo cording they call it, but use whatever you want to stitch your pages, as long as the thread isn't too thin that it will cut through the pages. You can get some wax covered thread that will prevent that too, but I like using this cording. And it's inexpensive and it works well. So I'm going to start by positioning this inside my planner covers, centering top to bottom like that. And I think I'm going to use another clamp to hold this in place. Okay, so now I'm going to take my needle, got a nice thick needle, and I'm going to punch that through the center. And I'm going right inside the spine. Okay. Then I'm going to come back up through this hole down here. The way to do that is I can use another needle. Here, I'll use this pin, and I can just run the pin through the hole there, and that shows me where my needle should go in. Go back out in the bottom, and then back in this hole. I'm not going to pull too tightly on my threads yet, because this will allow me to get the needle through the paper easier, and then I'll just pull everything tighter after. So I go back in this hole, and you can also thread some beads through there if you want to dress it up a bit. I can now remove that. Okay, sorry about that. My camera battery died and I didn't realize that it wasn't recording anymore. So basically I was finishing off, I was pushing my needle through the top, it came out here, and then I just punched it back down here, and then came back up here towards the middle, and then I just tied the two ends of the thread together in several knots. So now my planner is attached inside my covers, and there's my two pockets on the side. So next I want to do my closure, and I'm going to use some of these little petal embellishments that I have. I'm going to put those together, and I'm going to attach a button in the center. So there's a shank under this button that's going to go like that, and I'm also going to attach this elastic to my embellishment, and then I'm going to stitch the whole thing to the front cover, and I'm going to use the elastic to keep the journal closed. So this is a button I'm using. It's got a shank on it, and I have this narrow round elastic, and I can slide that right through the shank like that. And then I'm going to attach it to these petals. I'm going to stitch through the shank with a thin needle, and then I'm going to stitch it through the cover here and then tie it up. So I can use this button. I can also use this type of button, and I'm going to do the same thing. I would just slide this through here and like that, and I still have room for my needle to go through, and then I would attach that like that to the journal. So I'm going to use this button. And this needle goes through no problem. And I'm going to use some of this embroidery floss because it's not as thick as my cord, but it's strong. My fabric is quite thick, so I'm going to position this on my piece of foam here. The first one here. And then another one next to it, about 1/4 of an inch away. The easiest way is to run my embroidery thread through the holes and then assemble the button and flower. So I'm going to do that. And I think I'm going to, because I'm doing that, I'm going to do a double thickness so that it's extra strong. That. Now I'm going to come up through the flower. I've got my 2 layers. And then I'm going to run this through the shank of my button. Then go back down through the layers of petals. And I'm going to tie these ends together. And of course you can use whichever type of closure you prefer. And I trim this, and it's going to be hidden by my petals. So there's my closure. So I can pull on here and I'll get more length. Yeah, that's good. And I can expand. There. Now, because my flower petals stick out, I'm going to try and run this so that it goes right in between a set of petals. Like that. I could have also put my flower a bit more to the left. Now, the other option is to have this knot hidden underneath the button. So once you've tied it, I'm going to add another knot there to make sure it doesn't come undone. I'm going to pull on this like that, and I have my little knot sticking at the end here, and I can always trim these little ends off if I don't want them to show. And I can do it like that, or another way too, you can simply run it around this side like that. So there's my closure, and I think I will cut these little ends off. There. Now, my stitching is a little bit crooked on the spine, so I think I'm going to find something that I can use just to cover that up, but hopefully your stitching will be much straighter than mine. Well, I'm finished, so I'm going to show you the end result. Just a little note, if something doesn't come out perfect, don't despair. Challenge yourself to find some way to fix it, and sometimes you can end up with something that you like even better. In this case, my stitching was crooked on my spine, and I was thinking maybe I can just cover it up with something, and I didn't have the proper ribbon, the proper size, but I found in my stash I had this fake leather, and now I like it even better like that. Instead of having my stitching visible or just a thin strip, I put a piece of leather and wrapped it around the front and the back. This is actually a faux leather. It's not a real leather, but it still looks kind of nice, I think. And then on the front, I just put a little tag because this is a journal. I thought it was appropriate. And it says, do something kind today. Not a journal, but it's a planner, but can also be used as a journal because it's a weekly planner. So I can open this like that. Keep in mind that if you're going to be doing this, using a material that's slightly stretchy probably works a bit better, because this, when you open it up, it tends to wrinkle along the spine. But I mean, when it's open, it's usually open this way anyways, so you don't really notice that. So here inside the pocket, I just put some little tags in there, and you can use whatever paper collection you have and put some little tags in the front. You can also put a little notepad, maybe a pen in there. If you do add some bulky items, remember to leave some space between your two covers so that it'll accommodate the bulkiness. Otherwise your planner is going to end up being like that instead of closing flat. So in the back, I also added just a couple of tags here like that. And there's my journal ready to write on. And because this is a thick chipboard, you can write in this no problem. So I hope you enjoyed working with this tutorial, and if you have any projects that you complete and you want to sell them at craft fairs, go ahead. I would like to see pictures of your projects. If you do make some of these, feel free to email them to me at scrapndrabbit@gmail.com. Have a nice day and happy crafting. Bye!